The richest people you'll ever meet probably won't look successful, and that's exactly what makes them wealthy. I'm going to say something that might feel a little counterintuitive at first. The person who looks rich is very often not the wealthiest person in the room. And once you start noticing this, it's hard to unsee. Because real wealth doesn't behave the way we expect it to. It's quieter, more controlled, and most importantly, more intentional. So instead of focusing on how wealthy people spend, let's slow this down and look at how they actually think, because that's where the real difference is. When most people imagine a millionaire, they picture a lifestyle: nice car, upgraded home, visible success. But in reality, especially with self made millionaires, you often wouldn't even notice them. And this is where things start to shift. It's not that they can't spend, it's that they no longer feel the need to prove anything. And that's really the first change. Money stops being emotional. In the beginning, money feels like validation. It feels like progress, like proof that you're doing well. So naturally, spending becomes tied to that feeling. You upgrade things, you improve your lifestyle, you signal progress. But over time, something changes. That emotional attachment starts fading. And when that happens, behavior changes quietly but significantly. So here's the first principle to hold on to: money stops being identity. It's no longer used to tell the world who you are, because internally that question is already answered. And when that happens, something interesting follows. Spending loses urgency. You don't feel the need to upgrade just because you can. Instead, your thinking slows down. You start asking a different kind of question like, if nobody saw this, would I still want it? Just sit with that for a second, because that one filter alone removes a surprising amount of unnecessary decisions. Now, from here, the thinking goes one level deeper. Wealthy individuals don't optimize for image, they optimize for optionality. And this is a subtle shift, but a very powerful one. They're not asking, can I afford this? They're asking, what does this decision do to my future? Does it lock me into something? Does it reduce flexibility? Does it add pressure later? Because every decision has a ripple effect, not just financially, but in terms of freedom. And once you start looking at money through that lens, your priorities naturally begin to shift, because what you're really protecting is your ability to choose. And that leads into the next idea. Security doesn't come from how things look, it comes from how flexible things are. From the outside, assets like houses, cars, lifestyle upgrades, they look stable. But from the inside, they often come with commitments, maintenance, ongoing costs, less room to adjust. On the other hand, liquidity, having access to your money, feels very different. It's quiet, it's calm, it gives you options, and options create a very different kind of confidence. So if we pause here for a second, you can simplify this into one core filter. Does this decision increase my flexibility or reduce it? That's it. And the more consistently you apply that filter, the more your financial direction starts to change. Now, there's another shift that's less visible, but just as important. They step out of the comparison cycle, not because they win it, but because they realize it's not worth playing. Because comparison creates pressure, and pressure leads to decisions that don't actually serve you. You start buying things you don't need to match people you don't even know. And over time, that creates a gap between your income and your actual progress. So instead of looking outward, the focus turns inward. What actually matters to me? Not what looks impressive, not what feels expected, but what genuinely adds value to your life. And once that becomes clear, decision-making becomes much simpler. Now, here's another layer most people overlook: how spending itself is perceived. Most people treat spending as a moment, a quick decision, a short-term reward. But wealthy individuals tend to look at it differently. They see it as something ongoing. Every purchase becomes something you carry forward, something you maintain, something that takes up space financially or mentally. So instead of asking, do I want this right now? They shift to, am I okay owning this long term? And that small change slows things down just enough to make better decisions. Now there's one more shift that ties all of this together. They become comfortable not being understood. And this one takes time, because we're naturally wired to explain ourselves, to justify decisions, to show that we're doing okay. But over time, that need starts to fade. Decisions become internal, not something that needs validation. And when that happens, something powerful replaces it: clarity. because you're no longer reacting to expectations. You're acting based on alignment. Now, if we step back and look at everything together, this isn't really about income. It's about behavior. It's about how decisions are made once money is no longer the loudest voice in the room. So instead of focusing on looking successful, the focus shifts to something much more stable, building a system that supports your life. And if you want to turn this into something practical, you can think about it like this. Before spending, ask, is this for me or for perception? Before upgrading, ask, does this increase my flexibility or reduce it? Before comparing, ask, does this actually matter to my life? And before committing, ask, am I okay carrying this forward? You don't need to apply everything perfectly. You just need to start noticing. Because once you see these patterns, you naturally begin to adjust. And over time, those small adjustments compound, not in a dramatic way, but in a very steady, controlled way. Because real wealth doesn't try to stand out. It creates space, it reduces pressure, and it gives you control over your decisions. And once you experience that, looking rich becomes a lot less interesting than actually being free. I'm Robert, and if this helped you think about money a little differently, stay with me. We'll keep breaking this down simply. I'll see you in the next one.